Bye. I have formally finished classes and done all my final assignments. So I've done my exams as well and all my final essays. So the only thing left for me to do is my dissertation. So I just wanted to share some of my experiences with you, some tips and tricks for those who are thinking of applying, what being at the LSE was like, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned. So the program that I'm doing is Global Media and Communications, which is a double degree program. So the idea is that the first year you start at the London School of Economics, and then the second year you either go to the University of Fudan in China, University of Southern California in the States, or University of Cape Town in South Africa, where I'm going. So right now I'm in the middle of my program, and so I've completed the LSE portion of the degree, and I will be going to University of Cape Town in September. So how I heard about this program, actually my mother found this program. I had been looking at LSE previously, but there was this one program that really interested me. It was like they had a summer school program with the University of Cape Town. And if you know me, you know that I've always wanted to work on the continent. I remember I traveled to Cape Town 2 years ago and absolutely fell in love. So I just thought that South Africa was the place for me to be, you know? And sadly, I wasn't eligible for that program because I think it was for undergraduates or something like that. Anyway, so my mom sends me this email and she's basically like, oh, check out this new program that LSE is offering. And I saw it and I just thought, this is perfect for me. Like it was in the media department, and I'm obviously very passionate about creating content, media, all things media, you know. And so I kind of did something silly and only applied to LSE and UCT. So basically my thinking at the time was, you know what, if I don't get in, I could just always look for work and just join the workforce. But if I do get in, it'd be great to do my master's now. Mind you, at that point I had been looking for a job since I had graduated from university, and not been very successful at it, and so that was a very silly plan of mine, you know? So I think one tip of advice that I would give is apply to multiple schools. Don't just put your eggs in one basket, because you never know how it's going to pan out. Luckily for me, things worked out, but you need to be smart about how you're applying. In applying for this program, I had to write a personal statement. And a personal statement is basically like a statement of intent explaining why you would be a good candidate for this program. You lay out your passions, your future ambitions. You also lay out your qualities, your good qualities. Like for me, I talked about my creativity, my passion to work on the continent, my passion to learn, you know. And also one thing that was really important is that you kind of have to do a little bit of research about about the school that you're applying to, and make sure you mention the great qualities that drew you to that institution, right? So with LSE, I was like, I can't wait to be part of such a diverse and international student body, because LSE has such a large international student body, students from all over the place. And so it's important to mention the things that make the school that you're applying to special, and why you as an individual would be the right fit for that school. I wrote my personal statement, I got my letters of recommendation. So I remember I only needed 2 letters of recommendation, and I asked 3 people. 2 of them got back to me, thank goodness, but the 3rd teacher completely blanked me. You never know when you're going to need a good letter of recommendation, and you don't want to be the student who the teacher has no idea who you are. So a very big tip of advice that I would say is make sure you connect with one of your teachers, one of your advisors, TAs, someone who can write a good letter of recommendation for you. Luckily, I was able to get my letter of recommendation, my personal statement, and all my other documents together. And I remember the day that the application opened, it was sometime in October. I think I submitted my application the next day, you know. And Thank goodness I got in. So not to talk about my experience as a student at the LSE, I will admit that in the beginning it was very hard sort of transitioning back to school. At that point I had taken a year off, traveled, worked a little bit, and so it was strange getting back into the root of academia, and I struggled honestly for the first month or so. Because it was just difficult, and it was a little bit different. There's a lot more freedom than your undergraduate degree. Nobody will tell you. I mean, obviously, undergraduate degree versus high school, like there's a lot of freedom, but there's definitely way more freedom as a master's student. Yeah, just very short periods of time where you're actually in class, and the rest of the time is up to you to sort of absorb the knowledge and, you know, understand the curriculum and what you have to do, right? So how it works is basically you have to read before class, and then you go to class. You'll have a 1 hour lecture where the teacher will teach the lesson, and then oftentimes you'll have a seminar to discuss the readings and then the ideas from the lecture as well. One thing about me is that I'm a very fast reader, right? So I can read very quickly. So they would give us, I don't know, 30, 20 page documents to read. I'd be able to read them, but I wasn't necessarily understanding what I had to pull from each of the topics. Yeah, it was just very hard for me to think in theoretical terms, to understand, you know, there's a lot of conversations within the theories that you have to sort of understand what each author is saying, understand the viewpoints, and then you have to sort of formulate your own, right? So that was very difficult for me to do in the beginning. So I just remember in the beginning I just felt very unprepared, and coupled with the fact that LSE is a very prestigious institution, right? And I think there's a little bit of pressure in the air, you know, because I think a lot of people who go there do very well in the undergraduates. They're geniuses, you know? And so there's that sort of pressure, like, oh, I have to do well, I'm not doing enough, that kind of thing. Which was something I struggled with in the beginning, but I think as with all things, you sort of find your flow, you find how you cope with these things. Eventually it got easier for me to do the readings and then contribute more constructively in class, you know, and it was tough, but it was good, you know. I think one of the things that was great about my course was that there were so many opportunities to be challenged, to be stretched, to confront things that you never necessarily thought about in a new and interesting way. The thing about doing your master's as well is that you have to have a lot of discipline, because quite a few things are not compulsory, right? So, for example, there was one class where the homework was not compulsory. It was my statistics class, and you had a computer class every week, and we were given homework, and it wasn't compulsory, right? So like, you could do it or not do it, but at the end of the day, if you didn't do it, you were sort of hurting yourself, because it kind of prepared you for the final assessment. And also there were these essays called formative essays, which were sort of draft essays in the middle of the term, and you know, you could choose to do them, you could choose not to do them, but essentially what they were doing was helping you prepare for your final assessment at the end of the term. And one thing that was different for me in terms of assessment was that in the States, before you go on break, you've probably already handed in all your assessments, you've handed in all your assignments, and you can go and enjoy your holiday, bing bang boom. But not so with the English system, as I found out. So during the Christmas break, I actually had work to do. I had 2 or 3 papers to write, and it was stressful. You know, I'm trying to party, but like in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh my goodness, I have this essay to go home and write. Like, you know, and I did not enjoy that. I don't like it. I don't like it at all, you know. So I remember I had finished one essay on the, like when I went to Ghana for Christmas, I had finished one essay and I had one more left to do. And I remember it was due on the day that I was flying, and I was on the plane, you know, typing out the last bits of my essay, And I got it in, you know, but nah, it's stress, okay? It is stressful. But yeah, no, and I did well on that paper if I remember, so, you know, I think I worked well under pressure, but like, yo, it was just too much. It was too much. I think one thing that you should watch out for in terms of marking and grades, I think the British and the Americans sort of mark in a different way, right? So I think the Americans start from 100 and deduct as they go along. So like a mark of a 60 is pretty bad, actually. I don't know, some places it might be considered a fail or something like that, right? But the British, they start from 0 and then mark up, right? So if you get 60%, then that's pretty good. Like, you've done well. That was something I didn't understand. So, you know, when you see a certain number, you're kind of like, what is this? But I was assured that, like, you've done well. So I think a distinction might be from like 70 to 79. But like in America, that might be a B or something, you know? Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this first part of my LSE and me series. So join me for part 2 when I talk about my extracurricular activities. So everything that I did at the LSE outside of schoolwork. Until next time, peace, love, and prosperity.